Hello, I hope you're all well. I'm Madison Cooper and you're watching Madison 360 on CNN. In these difficult times, I hope you can enjoy the program. This program we talked about the presidential elections, and there will be a debate between a couple of Trump and Biden supporters hosted by Lam Phillips. But first of all, it is necessary to recall the mechanisms of the presidential elections with my co-host Ashley's storyline, and then get to the heart of the matter. Let's get started. Hello, Ashley Starline.
Hi, Madison Cooper.
It is necessary to review together the mechanism of the elections. So, according to Article 2, Section 1 of the American Constitution, the candidate for the presidency has to be over 13 years of age, be American born, and have lived in the USA for at least 14 years. The President of the USA is elected for a 4-year term. Presidential elections are held on the first Tuesday following the first Monday of November on even years, and the president's term starts the following January. The president is not elected directly by the population but by an electoral college. This means voters vote for the president indirectly. On the ballot in each state, voters choose a preferred candidate and the winning candidates choose representative called electors and represent that state shows in the electoral college. The campaign, however, starts practically a year before the general election takes place in November. Indeed, the electoral college system encourages a two-party system, and since many candidates in each party wish to run for the presidency, it is important for the two major parties, Democrats and Republicans, to have selected the official nominee long before the November election. Therefore, each party organizes primary elections.
So now I'm going to speak about the primaries. We can distinguish between three types of primary election. Only voters who are registered as members of the party can take part in closed primaries. Semi-closed primaries enable independent voters to take part in the selection of the candidate of the party, while voters registered with a party may only vote in that party primary election. Finally, open primaries allow voters, regardless of party affiliation, to vote in any of the primaries that they wish. Caucuses are another method used to select candidates. Voters meet in private, some home and other public buildings to discuss the campaign and the different candidates. They then elect delegates to county convention, who in turn elect delegates for state convention, where the delegate for the national convention is chosen. Primaries are not held across the USA at the same time, but span a period of several months, starting in January and ending in June. Since 1988, many states have agreed to organize their primaries simultaneously on the same day. These events are referred to as Super Tuesday or Super Saturday. At primary election and caucuses, voters do not vote for their candidate directly. Instead, they vote for delegates who are local party members or state officials who will in turn vote for their candidates. Depending on the state, delegates are either pledged delegates and have to vote for the candidate they promise they would support or unpledged, in which case they are free to vote for whomever they please. The next step is the National Convention, where all the delegates gather and vote in favor of their candidates for president and vice president. Each party has its own convention. The candidate for the vice presidency is called the running mate. Together with the presidential candidates, they form what is called the ticket.
Each state has a specific number of electors, which is equal to the number of senators, two per state, and the number of representatives, which varies according to the population of its state. In other words, the more populated a state is, the bigger its influence on the electoral college will be. California, the most populated state in the country, has 55 electoral votes out of the total of 538, whereas Wyoming only has 3. The presidential ticket will win the majority of citizens' vote in the state, wins all the electoral college votes for that state. This system is called the winner-take-all and it's used in 48 states. Only Nebraska and Maine have different rules. The fact that the minority vote in each state is not taken into consideration in the composition of the Electoral College is one of the major reasons why the Electoral College is sometimes criticized today. As the Electoral College currently comprises 538 members, a candidate to the presidency needs to obtain the vote of the 270 electors to be elected.
As no federal law requires electors to vote as they said they would, in a few instances, some electors have chosen not to support their party's candidates. Such electors are called faithless electors. For example, in 1960, a Republican elector betrayed his party. However, he did not give his vote to Kennedy, but to a Democratic senator who was not a candidate to the election. Generally, the outcome of the election may be guessed after the November ballot, and most of the time, faithless electors choose to vote independently to make a point or express a grievance when the election is not close and when there is no risk that their vote would cause their candidate to lose the election. But the defection of a faithless elector may have serious consequences if there is a near tie in the Electoral College. On January 6th of the following year, the votes are scrutinized and the results are officially announced in Congress. The ceremony takes place in the House of Representatives, which hosts both representative and senator, and is conducted by the vice president, us by the vice president, who is also the president of the Senate. The votes of the Electoral College are counted, and if no objection is raised, the name of the winner is announced. On January 20, the president who wins the election in November has been referred to as the president-elect, is sworn in by the Chief Justice of the Supreme Court and takes the following oath, known as the oath office. He said, I do solemnly swear that I will faithfully execute the office of US President and will, to the best of my ability, preserve, protect, and defend the Constitution of the United States. The phrase "So help me God" at the end of the oath is not officially part of the Constitution, but was added by the President of the United States, George Washington, when he took the oath of office, and has become a tradition. Then the President entered office. So now I'm going to leave Liam speak of his political column. Hey Liam, how are you doing?
Hi everyone, I'm Liam Phillips. Let's get started. We'll get to debate in a minute, but before that, it could be relevant to take the pulse of the American society and see what's at stake in this election. The Electoral College system is broken. In some states, people don't even bother to vote since the outcome is already known. I mean, why would they? If we take the example of the Sooner state of Oklahoma, Republicans are confident they will get 65+% of the votes, and the statistics show that many historic Republican or Democratic states have lower turnouts for voting from the opposite party. That brings the issue of democracy in the US. The foundations of democracy are also at stake when Donald Trump doesn't want to say that he will give up on power calmly. We'll ask Republican officials about that in a minute. On the other hand, Democrats also have their fair share of alleged attempts on the US institutions and on democracy, even though your view on that matter may depend on where your political ideals lie. But for example, when controversial Justice Barrett was appointed at the US Supreme Court, the then Democratic candidate Joe Biden said that as a president, he'll be calling for a panel to study changes at the US Supreme Court and expressly pointed out that the possibility of expanding the court is on the table. Is that just a matter of check and balances, or Biden is implicitly putting the doubt on the legitimacy of the US Supreme Court? Again, I'm not saying that all these allegations against both Democrats and Republicans are founded. I'm just saying that there is a debate, and this debate is closely related to what path people want the US to take for the next decades. I mean, not wanting to give up on power or wanting to appoint other judges to deal with conservative influence in the US Supreme Court, those ideas and views and behaviors are not innocent. They are part of different views on what the future should be. You could tell me that it always has been the case in every single US presidential election, and I would agree with you. But America is so fractured today. The economy is in such bad shape, and we are on our way to completely destroy the planet if we don't do anything. And also some fundamental rights are being questioned today. So people are thinking, now's the time to act, to do something to show what vision of the court we want, of the future, we want to adopt, whether it's more of a conservative approach or a progressive one. Leslie told us, for example, she said, I think the main thing at stake in this election is the future we are setting up for our children. The country is so divided on issues I feel we should all support. We should all want clean air and water. We should all want our daughters to have the same right as our sons. And we should all want our country to be the highest example of a fair democracy for other countries to follow. Our founders fought hard to create a democracy we should all want to keep. Caitlin added, 2020 brought to light serious issues of racism, discrimination, and subsequently police brutality towards people of color. There is no doubt that the current president has done nothing but add fuel to the flames. We'll ask officials of both parties about that. But to plan a decent future, you first have to address present issues, namely the COVID-19 pandemic and the economic crisis that followed. Here's the numbers. The virus has already killed more than 240,000 Americans. President Trump has been strongly criticized for his reaction to the pandemic, or the lack of it. On the other hand, Biden has a program viewed by some as a freedom-destroying one. We'll ask officials about that. Also, due to the coronavirus, 20.6 million jobs were lost, which is more than the double of jobs lost in 2007-2009 Great Recession, which was 8.7 million. So let's get to the debate.
Senator Blue Wave, Governor Ramirez, hello to you two. How are you doing?
Hi. Hello, Liam.
So my first set of questions is for you, Senator Blue Wave. First off, congrats to the election of Joe. What is your reaction? Do you think Kamala Harris was decisive in this win?
So we are very happy about this election. Indeed, even if some Americans don't realize it yet, Joe Biden really wants to bring people together. He is the president of all Americans, and his choice of Kamala Harris and as his running mate and now vice president shows the diversity and inclusion of his campaign and his program.
This is bullshit. You stole the election. Trump was first in Pennsylvania all the time. However, at the end, they found a lot of ballots for Biden. Are you kidding me? Trump won the election. He deserves to be the president of the United States.
No matter what you say, just wait and you will see that Joe Biden will achieve these goals and fulfill the hopes of the American people and also work with our partners from all over the world, something I'm being told your candidate has failed at.
How will he reconcile people if he's not the president elected? The USA wants a legitimate president, not a chief. USA is divided more than ever. It's not him who will save all of that. Biden has no program. He will never have the ideation of the real America, America of the countryside.
We have good reason to believe that Joe Biden will indeed try and bring peace to the world by easing relations with China and the European Union, which can only be positive. Trump's foreign affairs strategy has done nothing but revealing the pathological amateurism of his administration.
Stop lying to the Americans, please. It's unbearable. We have to make USA stronger. We don't need to supply China or European Union to help us. We are Americans. Be patriotic. USA is strong enough to impose its opinion on the world.
Please, Governor, calm down. Now let's move on to the next question, Senator Blue Wave. What do you think of Donald Trump's attitudes towards the results of the elections?
It's sad how someone can embarrass himself so bad. Trump talks about stealing the ballots. I think he is really in denial and has a hard time accepting that he is no longer the president of the United States. Trump wants to recount the votes when it is the power of the states that are masters of the vote counting, and Trump cannot impose anything on them. The Constitution explicitly forbids him. It's as if Trump was saying that they can count votes correctly. It's insane. Moreover, we have seen that Republicans are beginning to disagree with him on this point. For example, US Senator Mitt Romney even congratulated Biden for his victory.
Governor, what's your response to that?
I won't be calm. It's a shame. How people can believe that Biden won this election. In Georgia, in Pennsylvania, Trump led all the time, and by a miracle, Biden won these states. He has to fight until a judge recognizes that Democrats cheated. Trump reacts like that because he has proof of many irregularities. He can't reveal this proof to the public until the end of the procedure. Nevertheless, I'm sure that he will be the next president. Let justice do their job. And I don't want to make any comment about Republicans who congratulate Biden too early. They will apologize soon.
Thank you, Governor. In a recent tweet, a viewer said that, and I quote, "It doesn't help that our candidates are less than subpar. I will be voting for the lesser of two evils," end of the quote. What is your reaction to that? Do you think it's just a general critique against politicians, or that is directed against your candidate?
Trump has nothing to hide as opposed to Biden. All the world knows sexual assault and harassment accusation against Joe Biden. Who didn't see the video on Twitter which shows that Biden is a pedophile? We can't let him represent the United States. Moreover, I can already predict that his term will be no different than Obama's, who probably was a historic president, but a less than historic presidency. His only major achievement is the Obamacare, but timid response to the Great Recession. 1,000 Democrat seats in the US were lost during his term. Also, he is yet another white man in the Oval Office. There is also the Ukraine inter-Biden situation. Joe Biden tries to hide that. You have to reveal the truth to people. I'm sure that they will change their balance.
I will not respond to that, but about Donald Trump, well, it's pretty obvious since he's known to be racist. One wonders if he's cut out for politics. Obviously, I think he's not. He's probably better as a businessman. Moreover, the fact that he has had impeachment proceedings against him has not helped his reputation. Finally, I would say that the public cannot trust a president who has disclosed his tax returns. It sounds dishonest. However, I think it's pretty strong to say that none of the candidates are good, since this is totally false. Just look at Joe Biden's program, but I won't say the same about Trump.
Thank you for sharing your views. My next question is about campaign funding. How did you manage to gather so much money?
It's not from public funding. The main part is from individual contributions. These are big donors and small donors. Small donors are people who give less $200. There is also self-financing super public action committees. The major public action committees for Trump are God Guns Life, Tea Party PAC, Coalition for American Veterans, Black Americans to re-elect the president, or Mom for Safe Neighborhoods. Finally, there are organizations and some other ways to have financial resources.
About us, we cannot reveal all of our financing methods, but I can tell you that Joe has committed hundreds of millions of dollars more than Trump for his campaign, while Trump did not commit a single dollar of his personal fortune.
Another secret from them, it's enough. Everybody knows that the main part of your financial resource is the smart donors. Why don't you want to assume that? Are you ashamed?
We are not ashamed to say it, sir. Yes, we've been financed primarily by small donors, that is, citizens supporting us, and this is, in our opinion, a very nice form of support. Can you say the same?
The last question is primarily for you, Governor. What is your opinion on Joe Biden's ideas for the next 4 years?
He has no program. In all his meetings, he just said that he disagreed with Trump politics, but he proposed nothing. How is it possible to present to the US election and have no program? His first idea is to develop Obamacare. What a shame. It's even not his idea. He just wants to tax high incomes to finance his politics. However, during these 4 last years, Trump showed that it's possible to have an efficacious politics without taxing a lot high incomes. Trump reduced unemployment as never it was done. Taxing high incomes is not the solution. Moreover, Democrats always did war, but they accused Trump to provoke war. However, Trump stopped all the war. He didn't begin any war. He was for peace. This is why he is nominated for the Nobel Prize of Peace. It's not Biden who will be nominated. Another point is that Biden wants to emphasize globalization. I have a question to all the Americans. Is it the solution? Under Trump, we make America great again. We don't need globalization. We don't want to depend on other states. We are America. We can do everything alone. We have to create jobs in our country, not in China or in Indonesia.
Indeed, we cannot deny it. Our objective is to tax high incomes, individuals making over $400,000 per year to finance our response to the pandemic, but those people can afford it. I may certainly displease many Americans, but not the majority because we've been elected. But I will make it possible to get the Americans out of this crisis as quick as possible, as my colleague Ms. Kennedy will explain it to you. Secondly, I think it's important to emphasize a point that we value in our team, which is the fact that Republicans are in favor for the use of weapons. Sorry. And as we've seen in the last 4 years, as well as the sale of weapons. Furthermore, in recent days, the sale of weapons has exploded for fear that Joe Biden will reduce the scope of these sales, which is a real problem, even the National Rifle Association is afraid of it. In addition, Joe Biden and his team had, from my point of view, a very good idea, which is the buyback program. It consists of the government buying back assault weapons already present in the community. The holders of these heavy weapons will have the choice of either selling them to the government or registering them in accordance with the National Weapons Act. The third and last point I will make today, although there are many, will be the importance of globalization for the US. Indeed, Trump has clearly destroyed the relationships we had with other countries, while Joe Biden wants to redeem US reputation and get back to work with our international partners. Since the election of Joe Biden, for example, producers in the wine industry are delighted because they know that thanks to this election, their relations with the United States will improve as well as the sales.
Your program will fail, and people won't elect Democrats anymore. You cheated, but soon we will know the truth. Your program is as bad as you. Stop the masquerade and let a real president govern the strongest country in the world.
Senator Blue Wave, Governor Ramirez, thank you so much for your time. We now take a short commercial break.
Thank you.
Welcome back, everyone. I'm Liam Phillips, and you're watching CNN. Mrs. Redneck, Mrs. Kennedy, good afternoon to you.
Good morning, everyone. Good morning to the viewers. It's a little weird to do a Zoom interview, but whatever. So let me introduce myself. My name is Mrs. Redneck, and I am invited today to assess a social record of the Trump administration. I hope it will convince you that he should have been re-elected, even though he was, according to legal votes.
It looks like somebody's got a big mouse around here. Hello, Liam. Hello, everyone.
Yeah. Mrs. Redneck, what's your response to people saying that you represent the old white electorate, the very same people who don't believe in climate change and try to push America back where it was 20 or so years ago? What is exactly your program to address climate change, despite the fact that Trump doesn't seem to believe in it?
So, first of all, I'm going to do a little overview on the subject of ecology. I'm aware that President Trump has been criticized for leaving the Paris Agreement, but this is something he had to do. What exactly is this agreement? This is the first global agreement on ecology. This is an agreement within the United Nations Framework Convention on Climate Change. It was signed in 2016 by 194 parties in Paris. Its main aim is to hold the increase in the global average temperature to well below 2 degrees Celsius. The main purpose by leaving this agreement was to ensure the energy independence of the country, to create jobs and to lower the cost of energy. This agreement was terribly endangering our production and our freedom. It limited importations, so it limited our yield. For legal reasons, we were finally able to leave this agreement on November 4th, 2020, so just after the elections.
The very election you just lost, right? Biden made clear that he wants to be part of the Paris Agreement, though.
Oh, and yesterday I learned by watching a video on YouTube that global warming is probably an invention to scare people and control our freedom. This is all a myth. They try to control us through our fears. President Trump understands that. Sadly, he's not here anymore.
Well, I guess I won't get an answer for my question. Mrs. Kennedy, what's your view on the Paris Agreement? What is Joe Biden, planning on doing about climate issues?
Our main goal is to reintegrate the Paris Agreement. We believe that it is necessary to stop pretending climate change is a rumor and act in consequences. Well, Joe will just do everything that Mr. Trump did not do. This is why we promise this reintegration in 17 days. We want to invest in green energy sources. That is the future. On a social aspect, the climate transition is going to create many jobs. It is essential to us to build a better world for future generations by creating jobs that are implicated in climate transition. Furthermore, reintegrating the Paris Agreement is going to influence and motivate other countries to keep fighting against global warming. We only have one objective, to reach carbon neutrality by 2050. As an international economic leader, we have to lead by example. We cannot ask developing countries to fight climate change and stand idly by.
Okay. Moving on to the next topic, minorities. As our viewer Caitlin pointed out, 2020 was the year of police brutality and violence against minorities. What's your opinion on that?
Yeah, you're right. We need to discuss minority rights and how Trump is criticized for the way he treated them for no real reasons. So, the first controversy that marred his mandate was his idea to build a wall between Mexico and the United States. It was considered as something terrible and heartless, but President Trump had a legitimate goal. Indeed, he wanted to stop illegal immigration. An out of control immigration may have dreadful consequences on our economy and economic growth. No less than 12 million Mexicans live here in the United States. The second controversy concerns the issue of police brutality. Indeed, the Black Lives Matter movement has a noble goal, but it must be contained. We do not want to end up in a civil war. In order to avoid this risk, President Trump has decided to declare the anti-racist action, named Antifa, as a terrorist organization. Their purpose is to fight fascists and racists, such as neo-Nazis.
But isn't that the proper goal, though? Shouldn't we all want to fight against fascism and racism?
Yes, but the members of Antifa are supposed to fight against the far right, but they are part of the far left. At the end of the day, they are doing what they denounce. Even if at the beginning they made posters and flyers campaigns, delivered speeches, marched in protest on behalf of anti-racist and anti-white nationalist causes, now their method of action is violence. They are spoiling their own movement.
Okay, so at the end, it's just politics, right? Mrs. Kennedy, what's Joe's vision on that matter?
We want to build back better and include everyone to reach this objective. Obviously, we cannot do it without the minorities. After a chaotic period, we believe that it is time to focus on solidarity, mutual assistance, and progress. We are very proud to claim that Kamala Harris is the first Afro-American woman vice president of the USA after 49 white vice presidents. This is a tremendous reaction to Trump's machismo. Additionally, the reunification of the USA by fighting racism and inequalities is an issue we have to focus on. It is a multi-step process. First of all, we will open our frontiers to refugees. We cannot stand children being separated from their parents, just like Joe's predecessor did. Then the middle class is at the core of Joe's program. He wants to reward reward work by increasing the minimum wage. For students in a precarious situation, the first 2 years of education will be free. No one will be neglected. We won't leave anyone behind, and we won't spare any expense to promote equal opportunity. It is necessary.
That's a well thought out program. Mrs. Redneck, what about the critics concerning the lack of progressivism in Trump's program and vision for America?
Yeah, if I still have time, I would like to end this debate by talking about abortion. In 2019, 14 states signed laws to restrict access to abortion. The Trump administration asked the Supreme Court to reinstate restrictions on the abortion pill. This restriction was suspended due to coronavirus. Despite the detractors, President Trump took the brave decision to limit abortion. Personally, I'm not against abortion. I simply think it must be controlled. So do President Trump.
Mr. Trump thinks that abortion is to be controlled, but it is something shocking that a man share his point of view and worse, impose it about decisions that only concern women and their own bodies. It is inappropriate and regressive to see behavior like his in 2020. With Kamala Harris as the vice president, we will make sure that no backsliding will take place.
And that concludes our debate. Mrs. Kennedy, Mrs. Redneck, thank you so much for your time. Have a nice weekend, everyone, and thank you for watching CNN.
Thank you, you too.